So this year's film is called Connections. It tells the story of a group of strangers, as you might come across on a subway, and how as individuals we so often avoid putting ourselves out there and maybe striking up a conversation.
You know, it's so hard finding people to connect with, especially on a train of all places.
Are you talking to me?
Sorry.
We're so self-conscious and aware of ourselves in environments like that. So we wanted to explore the idea of what if all of these strangers sort of just allowed themselves to open up and connect.
The story is about diversity and inclusion. It's about different people in this one space talking about what they really want. And that to me really resonates home because I feel like it's universal. People want different things. They're doing something that they don't necessarily want to do sometimes. And how do you find opportunities to match with your passion?
And what is it that you want to do?
Sell a house.
Yeah, okay, but what do you want to do?
I want to sell a house. I love selling houses.
Joe, I love that.
It's called Connections, and that's what we're doing in the film is people that are connecting in a small space, and you know, these things don't, I feel like they don't happen in everyday life anymore where people just talk and have a conversation. People are just so much in a hurry to just get home and live in their small little bubble that they don't find those maybe great moments that you might have with a stranger. You know, sometimes for me, being in a wheelchair, I'm ignored and people just kind of look over me. It was really hard for me to handle that when I first got injured. So any interaction I have now, it's positive and it's good to just to talk to someone that I don't know.
It helps build empathy for people because I think the world needs more of that. It needs more love. It needs more understanding. And the only way you get that is by seeing it. And if I can be a part of telling that kind of story, that is what I want to do with my life.
Every time I see this man's work, I'm like, I pause because, I mean, his films always like pull me in. I mean, they're just incredible. The work that he does is amazing. He's a disability advocate. He's an award-winning filmmaker, and he is an Emmy-winning producer. Carl Hansen.
Hello. Oh wait, I can do officially. We're on the air, so I turn on.
We're officially.
My little switch from Target, and the gift my wife got me for Father's Day last year is this little on the air. I feel like a weatherman. I'm like, what side? Where are we? It's right
here. I love how it lit up. On air. There we go.
Official. It's official.
Official. It's
official. Great. Thank you so much for those kind words, David. It's really really nice.
I mean, every time I see the last several years I've been watching, of course, the Disability Film Challenge, and there's a film that, it pops up, and in my mind I go, I wonder if this is Carl's, and it is. And I'm like, oh my God, you're just a wonderful filmmaker, and not just, you're a wonderful filmmaker.
That is my entire life. My life is fulfilled now. That is what I've been trying to attain, and here it is. It's actually happened.
It's actually happened, and I mean, it's such a connection. And I'll say that to start off, that film that you made, Connections, is I watch it over and over. It just brings a light to people's lives.
It's joyful, isn't it? That's sort of one of the qualities that I try and find in a lot of the work that I do, is that joy, that uplift. I mean, life is hard, right? It's like my goal as a filmmaker, as an artist, is kind of to shine light on different parts of life, right? Different characters, different stories. And with Connections in particular, it was something that we hit on, and we realized like we really want to make people feel good, right? And there's that ending scene with all the people jumping up and saying what they want. That's how we live our lives, right? That's how every day we live our lives, if you're not actually doing what you want to be doing. So.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. And you've got, I mean, the cast, I mean, you get so much out of your actors as well.
The actors are very giving to me, right? It's like they trust me with being able to tell the kind of story that we're telling. Because the other thing too is, obviously the Disability Film Challenge being a challenge, you only have a certain amount of time to make a film, right? It's not a ton of time, like 55 hours. Connections was made as the 48-hour film project,
Right.
which is only 48 hours, right? So it's a little bit shorter. I had the Easter Seals challenge is awesome because we get 7 extra hours. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot in those competitions. But something that I really I strive for in those films is to make them entertaining, right? To make them a good watch for people, so that you're not just wasting your time. I mean, it takes 5 to 8 minutes or however long the films are out of people's lives. Like, how do I want to treat that time for people? I want to be respectful of it and give them something, but also give them something not just entertaining, but meaningful. Ideally, there's some additional, meaning for it. Or as a disability advocate, I think we had 5 people with disabilities in front of the camera that I can recall. The 5 people on screen, which to everybody on set seemed to be a new thing.
Right.
I know it was for me to have that number of people with disabilities, but it also didn't feel odd, right? I mean, it just felt, hey, yeah, we're all making a film and these are the people that are making it. But that it was specific to note that there were 5 people with disabilities in front of the camera, because statistics are so low in other parts of the industry, and I'm looking to really change that. That was important to me, especially with that particular.
Now, when did you become a disability advocate, or what was the spark for that?
So I have to say, like, I was always a diversity and inclusion advocate. Like, it was always just more about diversity and inclusion and including as many people as I can, potentially from underrepresented communities, but just in general, like working with women and African-American people. I mean, it really just sort of kind of was born out of that experience for me, but also my personal experience in my family. Like, my dad, as he got older, became disabled, right? And it's sort of the thing that I always like to tell people is the disability community is one that you can join at any time in your life. It could be an accident, right? If you live long enough, like as you become elderly, you will become disabled most likely, right? So it's something that if you're not paying attention to it, you should. And then when I started learning the statistics about in the film and entertainment industry, that it was like less than 3%. So 25% of the population has a disability. I mean, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here. Less than 3% are in film and TV. And out of those 3%, a lot were able-bodied actors portraying a disability that they didn't have. Right. And for many, many years, it had been that way, and that Oscars were going to people like Daniel Day-Lewis, who's a phenomenal actor. I have no issue against Daniel Day-Lewis specifically, but the fact that he won an Oscar for playing a person with a disability is problematic, right? I mean, like, there's a term, and this may be a negative term for a lot of people, but a term called crip face. Mm-hmm. It's not blackface, right? It's putting on the air that you have a disability when you actually don't. And in this day and age of authentic casting, when now really people want to see the authenticity on screen, you can't really get away with that anymore, right? Now, that has been the way for so long, you really can't do it.
Yeah. Now, I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Sure.
Because I'm all in with the family here, but playing the devil's advocate, let's say Daniel Day-Lewis. He did an incredible job. I mean, we believed him in his role. And of course, that was 10 years ago? Is it, I don't know, 20 years now? I'm confused.
Yeah, maybe even longer. My left foot, right, was like early 90s.
Oh my God.
I think, right?
Yeah. Being that, what would people say though, when they say, or if somebody would say, hey, but this is acting?
There's an awesome daily show between the camera. I forget the actual term that Trevor Noah uses for between their actual taping, but they release them online, right? There's a digital daily show.
Right.
And he had that very same argument that when Bryan Cranston made The Upside, he said, yes, it's called acting. That's why this is ridiculous that people are thinking this way. And there was a comment that he read by an actor who is disabled. I want to say the actor was either a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, whatever it might have been quadriplegic because I think that's what that role was. I actually never saw the movie, but partially because I didn't want to give it money because of this, but also I think when you look at those kinds of roles, and especially today, and the person who had quadriplegia that said to this comment about Trevor Noah that Trevor Noah is making, where are the roles for me? Like, you're right, it is called acting. 100% it's called acting. But now think about how many roles there are in the world that are written for someone that's a quadriplegic. Okay, it's a pretty low number. So now here comes a role for someone with quadriplegia, and now here's an opportunity for me to be seen. Except it goes to Bryan Cranston, who doesn't have the disability. So where is that representation, and where's then the job, and where's the opportunity? And that story has been repeated many, many, many times. And so it's like, it's time to stop that. We now need to give opportunity to people who have not had the opportunity for some strange reason or another, which I'm still trying to figure out why people with disabilities haven't been seen really until fairly recently in this kind of role. Although what I will say is I went to was it Real Abilities last year?
New York or LA?
The LA one.
Yeah.
And there was a movie called Freaks that I want to say came out in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Right? 1920s. That was almost an entirely disabled cast. It was truly like, I had never seen anything like it before. Yeah. And it was amazing to see that. But somewhere along the way, people with disabilities weren't being seen on camera anymore. And sort of like how that changed and how that has really affected the business too. And not just the business, right? Because the entertainment industry is like a microscope, right? Or a magnifying lens, right? You have a magnifying glass and we're kind of showing different things. And if we're not seeing someone or something that's important, or we're not seeing those things, it doesn't seem normal to people, right? That idea of normalcy. But the more you see people, the more you see those storylines, the more accustomed people become to it, right? It's like it becomes more normalized. So it's not like friends of mine who are out and about, but they're wheelchair users, right? They're out and about and they're either being completely ignored, right? It's like no one's even acknowledging them as human beings in their presence, or they're almost accosted in a way that's like, hey, what happened to you? Or, oh my gosh, thank you for your service. And they're like, I'm not a veteran. It's like these misconceptions of people, because by the way, that is what they've seen. That's what they've seen. So that's why they think it. So for me as a creator and a producer and a director, like I've taken it on to really promote those kinds of stories and to highlight people with disabilities.
Well, what I like about your work too is that you cast, quote, if we're saying people with disabilities, you're actors who happen to have a disability in roles that aren't written for people with disabilities. And it's not even necessarily mentioned in your work. It's just, these are human beings living their lives.
I will say one thing. The roles for the people in my films, whether they are disabled or not, are written specifically for them. So when we write, because again, we're in this process of like a very condensed time period, and I know who's agreed to be a part of the film. So I'm like, oh, this is a role for them. This is a role for them. So, right. It is written specifically for the person. It's just not written with the disability included necessarily because it's not important to the storyline, right? That's the thing.
And I was thinking about like Shannon Direct.
Right. Oh, Shannon's a phenomenal actor.
Yes.
Not only is Shannon a phenomenal actor, Shannon has such amazing comedic timing that when you go back and look at I.O., okay? I.O. was one of the films that I won Best Director in the competition, which, I mean, that was a dream come true for me. Like winning Best Director, for me, like all I've wanted to do is be a film director.
Yeah.
Shannon came up with all those jokes. She improvised almost that entire first scene herself. And it was one of those things, the only reason I'm bringing it up is to show like, there's no reason why someone with Down syndrome can't do that. And yet for however long it's been, people haven't been giving them opportunities to do that. And it's like, Shannon's a phenomenal actor. I saw her tape before when we made Checkmate, and I was like, absolutely, I want to include her. I think she's phenomenal. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so true. And I remember that how the film begins with her on the stage. And I was going, oh my God, it's brilliant. You brought out what she has. You allowed her to shine.
Oh, how you doing? You doing good? You doing good, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, why coaches go to his bank? Why? To get his quarterback.
That was 100% her character, because when she got up on that stage and her mom was off camera with me, and she did this, and it was as if she was channeling Andrew Dice Clay. I don't know where, like, it was suddenly I was like, whoa, I never saw that coming, but that was awesome. You know what I mean? And that was a specific choice of hers that I embraced it, because I was like, yeah, keep doing that.
So, I'm thinking about that. Now, when you're editing this, I mean, you have an editor.
Yes.
So do you work with the editor and say, wait, see this moment? Do you like throw that to the editor, or do you allow the editor to create?
So for a long time, when I first started making these timed film competitions, because, I think it's a very unique art form, very different than when you have months and months or, a year to make a feature or something, excuse me, that in these compressed time periods, like I'll have stayed up all night Friday night writing with a writer, right? I'll have stayed up all night Friday night writing with the writer, making sure the story's where it needs to be and that it feels right to me to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
Get on set on the next day, whether I've had maybe a couple hours of sleep or no sleep. We shoot the film. By the time it gets to the wrap, right, to wrap of the production, there's no possible way that I could even stay awake anymore. Like, it's not humanly possible to do that. My body just shuts down and I'll fall asleep wherever I am.
Yeah.
The editor has to take it, and that's what an editor does, right? I let the editor do their first pass, just like I let the writer do their first pass. And I let them do their job. That's what they're there to do. But even though everyone's a volunteer, right? Everyone has volunteered their time on these film competition films. I give them the opportunity to do what they came on to do and what they actively volunteered to do.
Yeah.
So you want to give artists the ability, like I always say, you can give, a box to 1,000 different artists and get 1,000 different things, right? It's like, so let's give them a box. Let's give them this thing and see what they can make, because there are things that I would never have thought of that editors come to the table with that I'm like, oh, that's phenomenal. I would never have thought of that. That's great. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from doing these films like IO and Connections, when did you start, or when did you say to yourself, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be in this business?
Well, that probably happened when I was 8 years old, and my uncle gave me a video camera, a VHS video camera that I just took to. It was something that, I don't know, I just don't know that I knew that I liked it at the time, and suddenly we had this video camera, and I just started making short films essentially with my cousin. Yeah. We'd make like a thing called Tank Battle, where it was literally like these tank models, and then we'd cut the camera, light a candle, like, or a match, like right by it, so it looked like there was like some little flame that came out, like it was exploding, and then we'd start the camera again. And doing stuff like that was just like fun. It was like child's play, but we were learning the visual medium essentially, right? And for me, that was where I was learning the language, not just watching stuff, but actually being able to make it. So I'd say that's where it really started. But I think where it really hooked me, I mean, I went to film school. I made some short films in college. But in 2005, I was out here in Los Angeles. I'd already been living out here for a while. I was working in reality TV. I was doing locations, and I was a production coordinator and doing all these jobs in production on reality shows. But knowing I wanted to make film, like I knew in my heart, I'm like, what I am out here to do is make film. At that same time, I guess right around 2005, is when I learned about the 48-hour film project, which is, a filmmaking competition. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. I don't have to take time off from work, my day job, right, Monday through Friday. I can do this on a weekend. And I can come out of the weekend with a finished film that then I can take to other film festivals. Like that was sort of, maybe I wasn't thinking about the film festival thing at that point quite yet, but I knew I could make something in that time period. Once we did it, even though the first time I had no idea what I was doing in terms of like creating something in such a short amount of time, once we did it and we were able to learn kind of from the mistakes that we had made, and in fact, the edit of that film, it was called Hard Sell, turned out terrible. Like we turned in a cut that I am not happy with, and that like I'm like, I don't want that to be seen. However, one of the writers and actors from the film looked at it and said, hey, would you mind if I re-edited this? I think there's something here. I would love to take a crack at it. I said, absolutely, please. He took it and he made it what I thought it was going to be from the outset. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great film. This is what it's supposed to be.
And what did you say? One of the actors from the film?
So he had been an editor. I met him as an editor.
Oh, okay.
He came on as a writer, but then ended up being a stunt double because we had a motorcycle chase. I mean, we went kind of nuts in the very first year because we didn't know what we didn't know, and we were just kind of like going all out with stuff.
Right.
And we had pulled action adventure, like you pull a genre out of a hat essentially, and we had pulled action adventure. So we went on like a motorcycle chase. Like it was kind of nutty. I would never do that again, by the way, without proper safety protocols. But it turned out okay. I mean, it ended up being fine. It's one of those experiences. It's like, well, we did that. Don't have to do that again. However, it made me realize, yes, it's possible. You can make a film in this amount of time, and you can make a good film in this amount of time that people wouldn't know was made in that amount of time. So that film ended up going and winning like some film festival awards and getting into other film festivals. And that's when I realized, oh, we're onto something here, that this is something I really want to be doing.
Wow. It's interesting how, even, I mean, the films that you make and the way you talk and create, I mean, some of the credits that you have, The Amazing Race, Joe Millionaire, The Osbournes, and then awards, you got a Sports Emmy Award.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you also produced Shark Tank.
So I have been incredibly lucky in my career, incredibly lucky. So when I first moved out to LA, Survivor had just started airing. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to Survivor parties and people like living rooms full of people watching this show.
Right.
And I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't know what it really was. And I didn't realize it was kind of the birth of reality TV as we know it today. I mean, Real World, I think, owns a lot of that credit. But Survivor brought it to the fore where now it's in the mainstream, like once Survivor hits.
Yeah.
So I had just graduated from college. Okay. I moved out to LA with my short film, my college film in hand, going, I'm going to be a film director. Nobody gave me that opportunity at that point. However, there were all these reality jobs that suddenly opened up. Because of Survivor, suddenly everyone's like, we want to be in the reality business. And it was just like this glut of shows that didn't know exactly how they needed to be produced, hiring people that had never done anything like that before, and that were young like I was, because we were the labor force that needed work, right? It's like we were the ones who needed to have a job. We weren't employed. And the scripted people were employed, the other people like news, all the other genres kind of were staffed up. And here I am trying to break into that. Like I was a PA on features, and that was sort of what I was doing. And I was a PA on TV, like other kinds of TV shows. But now here's this world that has been opened up. And
another monster in a way, huh?
Correct. But nobody really knew that at the time. It was just suddenly, here's some jobs, right? It's like jobs were available. And so I had been a production assistant on The Perfect Storm, right? The George Clooney movie, which shot in Gloucester, Massachusetts, near where I'm from. So I worked as a local hire in the locations department of The Perfect Storm, okay? Mm-hmm. And I bring that up specifically because, well, that doesn't change what my job was, even though it was for the locations department. Like I was a PA, like I once had to go and pick up buckets of chum in order to get like seagulls and stuff to like come and do it. Like, it was just like, there was nothing glamorous about what I was doing, even though I was knocking on George Clooney's trailer door and, like being there on a Hollywood movie set. Like I literally was hauling buckets of chum, right? So, but I was a PA. So that's what you do, right? You do those jobs. And I was happy to do the job, but it was, that's what it was. because I was a production assistant in the locations department of The Perfect Storm, I got an interview on an MTV show called Fear, which was about quote unquote allegedly haunted locations, although I had some pretty crazy haunted things come out of that experience.
Right.
But I got an interview on that show, didn't get it immediately, but I got the interview because I was a locations PA in The Perfect Storm. They needed a locations coordinator on this show. They're like, well, you can do this. I'm like, yeah, sure I can, even though I had no idea what was required. Literally, I had I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that job. So it was one of those situations that when reality TV opened up and I got this opportunity on Fear, right. and I think I told you I didn't get the job immediately because it went to somebody else. That person happened to be afraid of ghosts. I grew up near Salem, Massachusetts, which literally I grew up in the city next door.
I was going to say, and you dated a ghost.
I probably did, right? In high school,
I
dated a ghost. Now there's a TV show, David.
Oh.
I dated a ghost. But because I'd grown up in that environment, it didn't bother me at all. Like I had no issue. And so I got this job as a locations coordinator on an MTV show. And that was really the beginning of my reality career. Then it was just sort of literally, I just kind of rolled from one thing to the next. Like same team was doing Joe Millionaire, right? Same production team. So that's how I ended up getting on that. I found the chateau for Joe Millionaire, the very first one. Like I got to live in France for 3 months. Like that was an incredible experience. That was truly like.
Were you married at the time?
No, no. I was dating, but still, I mean, I wasn't married. So, but I was in France for 3 months, drinking wine, eating cheese. Like I make it sound glamorous. It was 19 hours to 22 hours a day of work. Truly, like I'd go to the chateau in the dark. I'd arrive there in the dark, I'd leave in the dark, and I'd show back up again a few hours later. And that was constant because we were trying to figure it out. Nobody knew exactly. And by the way, they lied to us, the crew, telling us that dude was a millionaire. And then my buddy came back. He's like, I don't think he's a millionaire. I'm like, why? He just asked to borrow $1 at McDonald's for a cheeseburger. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Oh my God.
Crazy. But anyway, but it was the world was opening up to reality, and that's where the jobs were. So that's why I was able to work on all those various productions, and you work with a lot of the same people. And then once you kind of get that kind of credit, you can move on to something else. But like The Amazing Race came out of experiences from friends that I had worked on Fear, right? And from some other, I worked on a Mike Fleiss Spring Break movie. Like it was one of those situations that like had my friends not already been working on it and I didn't have the experience, I probably would never have gotten the job on The Amazing Race. Wow. Right. So, but that is how the business truly works. And that's why, I mean, I do want to bring it full circle here. That's why it's important when we're hiring people, be them with disabilities or otherwise, that we find our network of people that we like working with and we continue to work with those people. That's why you see a lot of the same cast in my films. Like I love working with those people. Shannon has been in 4 films of mine at this point. Right. Danny Gomez, right, has been in a number. Wait a minute.
You started bringing up her name and I said, well, let's let her in.
Hey. Hi, Shannon.
Hey.
Great to see you.
Hey. Thank you.
We were talking about you, Shannon, how incredible actress you are.
Thank you.
And it's wonderful comedian.
Yeah, I'd love to be a comedian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and in fact, you bring that up, and Shannon improvised the line, I want to be a comedian in Connections as well. So talk about improv. You improvised almost the entire beginning of I.O., and then you also improvised your line in Connections as well, where you said you did want to be a comedian.
You know, I could see you writing a script too, Shannon.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have one yet? Or are you still in the process of it?
I'm still in the process of it.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I look forward to reading it and then seeing it. And who knows, maybe Carl will direct it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Unless you decide you want to also direct, Shannon. It would not surprise me if you also wanted to direct.
That's true. That is true.
Oh.
And then you'll have to hire me because I do, you know, I am civil. I do different jobs.
Yeah.
So, and now, Carl, you, like you said, you've been you work with Shannon so many times. You've, God, you have. And then the last film you did, you won also, didn't you, for the Disability Film Challenge?
So we were nominated for Best Editing.
Right.
We didn't end up winning. Scott Klum won, who his film was amazing too. Like
yeah.
all those films from last year's Disability Film Challenge, I really implore everybody to watch. They are remarkable, truly remarkable pieces of work. Well worth seeing.
It was finally a joy to finally do one. You know, I had been, you know, like the person who introduces at the beginning with Nick and at Performing Arts Studio West and Meet the Biz, and I finally said, okay, it's a documentary, and here I am at home. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? So it just we did it.
And your film was great, and Shannon, your film was great as well. Like I told everybody, you guys need to go watch these films. They are from a perspective that you don't ordinarily see, and you need to see it. You need to see that perspective. It's important. It's important to see.
Now, what made you decide to do the film that you did this year?
So, are you talking Second Act, the disability?
Second Act, Danny Gomez?
Yeah, Second Act, Danny J. Gomez. So before, when the At Home Challenge was announced, Danny and I had already talked. Oh my word! What is going on?
I love how you turn red.
Oh my! I'm not expecting it. This is like the best surprise. Yeah! Hold on, you're muted, Danny. You're muted.
Oh, is he muted? He's asked to unmute.
Yeah, he's on his phone.
Oh, there we go.
Hey! What's up? Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
How are you?
Amazing. Good. How are you?
Doing well. Just doing a little side work, you know, a little side gig action.
Indeed. That we were just mentioning your name. How strange that you just magically appeared.
I know. I use my superpowers to hear you guys and jump on Zoom.
So awesome. Well, and so David, you were asking me right before Danny joined, like, how did we decide on that film? And Danny, you and I had already decided we were going to work together on the Disability Film Challenge, like we had for the previous 2 years, right? We had decided we were going to do it. And then when the documentary challenge came about, I don't remember what the decision was, but I think you and I just started talking. We're like, your story is amazing. We should tell your story about everything. And you were on board with it. That's how I seem to remember it coming about, but I don't remember exactly now when we decided that.
I think an interesting place for me to start is kind of starting present day and looking backwards. My mom and I were having this conversation the other day, and she's like, did you ever imagine that this is where you would be right now? Never in a million years I would have thought is because I almost lost my life from like a crazy freak accident.
Yeah, that was definitely your idea, because I thrown some ideas out, and I don't know if one of my first ideas was like doing a musical type documentary, and you were like, yeah, okay, well, what about your story?
Well, Danny, do you sing? Do you play music?
I like to sing. I don't know if I sing well, but if I had like another choice for a career growing up, I would have wanted to be like a pop star, because you know, like Justin Timberlake is my idol, and I would have loved to do that, sing and dance.
Yeah,
I got everything except for the singing part, so that was a bummer.
Well, I always thought, and I think you and I had even talked about this as an idea at one point, like, what if you were like a hip hop star, right? Like, what if you had been a hip hop star and then maybe you got shot or something, you know what I mean? And now you're in a wheelchair, I mean, as you are. And now this is your character, right? You're like this hip hop star that had been in this accident, but you're still a hip hop star. Like, I've always thought that would be an amazing role for you. And I think it would be super fun to see. Even I think I've even asked you, I'm like, do you rap? Like, can you do that?
You know, my mind is going here. I'm thinking, you know, maybe we could all collaborate on something in connection to that.
Yeah, I think that's a great story. I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, Danny, because I know that's something we've talked about, you know, a while ago. And obviously now with your agent and you're on network television, you know, you're you know, I understand deals have to be.
So and now all of you worked in your film too that won the best film.
Yes. So we all met. Shannon, Danny, and I all met the first year that I competed in the film challenge. I know, Danny, it was your first year. Shannon, you had already competed at least once, maybe a couple. I think you were with John Lawson on John Lawson's film. So, but you hadn't been cast that year, and you came in literally like at the 11th hour. You on Friday night at 9 p.m. we got her submission, Shannon's submission, and Andrew Horn, who wrote that amazing script, like we were in Starbucks. I was watching Shannon's Shakespearean monologue that she had done on her tape, and I'm like, we have to put her in there. Like, how do we incorporate this person into the script? Like this would be a missed opportunity. And he was able to do it, and we figured out a great way to do it. But we were all together for the first time on Checkmate, which was the first year we did the challenge, that I did the challenge, and that we won. We won Best Film. Yeah, it was amazing. That was an amazing experience, truly.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, good. He has a question.
Do you like the place?
I do. The amenities are nice, and she's an absolute hottie.
I'm literally standing right here.
How about you?
I do. I feel like it suits my style.
Well, I guess it comes down to who wins it all. Me or you.
There are quite a few other applicants, so...
I think I know how to settle this. Rochambeau.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot!
Okay, gentlemen, please.
What else you got?
Don't encourage them.
No. Blue over yellow. I have a question for all of you. What do you want the most at this moment in your life?
Shannon, you want to go first?
It's a tough question. I was going to say Zanku chicken earlier, but I already had that for lunch, so I don't want that anymore.
I was going to say birthday cake, but I already had 2 pieces today.
It could be food. It could be anything. It could literally, right? It could be anything.
Oh, yeah. Anything. Shannon, what are you thinking?
It like in my life, I want everybody to be happy, and I miss the hugs.
Oh,
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
It's a real good one.
I think the hugs, that we could use that, and I'm gonna piggyback off that and say just to be around friends and family, just to be in normal, interactions with people without having to be fearful of COVID and stuff. I think that'd be awesome right now.
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing answer too. I will say the same things. I mean, I feel the exact same way. Though I will say, I would also say, like, I can't wait till we're back to normalcy for production's sake, right? So we can go out and make stuff not over Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like last year, Danny and I did a film over Zoom. Shannon did a film, and Danny, you were in the same film. You guys shot with your own iPhones, right? We were trying to figure out new ways of making stuff. Yeah. And while we're not, I don't think we're close to getting back to where it was before, we've at least figured out how we can work together even remotely, which I have to say is an amazing opportunity to be able to have that, because a lot of people aren't able to do it. We're incredibly lucky that we can create stuff and still do it in this way.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking about those hugs. I mean, it is so, I'm there with y'all. I mean, that's what the next film's gonna be called the group hug.
Yes.
Yeah, I was reading, somebody was saying how with human touch, right? We're all missing that human touch element. I mean, luckily I'm married with a child, right? So I have people that I've kind of just embedded with just naturally, right? So I consider myself really lucky for that. But that people, like, now when you get touched by another human being that isn't somebody or something, it's this emotional, visceral, like, oh man, like people have started crying when that happens, right? It's like you don't know how you're actually gonna react to something like that and how much we miss it, right?
Yeah. I look at this screen and the 3 of you or the 4 of us, and I just this is how we create. We bring artists together and create magic. And Carl, again, you've done that. Again, every time I watch your films, and the great thing about your films is that you think about them and you go, I want to watch that again. Some films you like, okay, I've seen that one, but again, right after this, I'm gonna go throw on IO or Connections or something,
Yes.
Thank you for saying that. I really, again, like I was saying at the beginning of our conversation, like I consider making a film a privilege, right? It's a privilege to be able to do that, but to be able to take somebody's time and energy to watch something, like that's not easy in today's society, right? How do you cut through the noise? How do you do it? So if I'm going to do that with someone and with a piece of content, like it needs to be worthwhile. That's the way that I look at it. You need to be able to get something out of it. Joy, fun, sad, even if sadness, right? Like we can get in touch with whatever emotion we're having. I always find that to be at least helpful for me when I'm watching something. If I see somebody going through something and I can really relate to that, that's why I make the kinds of things that I do. So, and I'm incredibly grateful to Shannon and Danny and our entire team that has come on board and entrusted me to tell those kinds of stories. You guys are amazing. You've come back again and again to do it. So I love our working relationship. Truly, it's truly one of the things that I look forward to. And I look forward to making something again with you guys, whatever that is. I look forward to whatever the next thing is.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Me too.
Me too.